She betrayed me, thinking I would stay quiet. I watched, I waited, and in silence, I reclaimed everything and taught her a bitter lesson she would never forget. My name is ZAHA. I'm 55. This is my story. I always thought sisters were supposed to have each other's backs, that we shared something unbreakable. But that illusion shattered the day I found out Claire had stolen everything I was meant to inherit. Everything our father had left for me. Everything I thought was mine by right. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community, and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, the envelope shaking in my hands, my tea long gone cold. I unfolded the papers, and the truth hit me harder than I ever imagined. She had transferred the entire estate into her name. Every account, every property, every small inheritance I had been promised since we were kids, gone. And she had done it with a smile, pretending to be the supportive sister I had trusted. Claire, I whispered, my voice catching. How could you? I could almost hear her in my mind, that fake sweetness she always used to hide the claws underneath. Marie, don't worry. I've handled everything. You can trust me. How I wanted to punch the walls, to scream, to make her feel even a fraction of the betrayal she had caused. But instead, I breathed, deep and steady, and told myself silence was my weapon. Anger would only make me predictable, and Claire would never see the storm coming. That night, I sat alone in my study, scrolling through emails, bank statements, and legal documents. Every line of text, every signature, every small error she had made. It was all a trail she had left behind, thinking she was clever. I took notes, I traced transactions, I memorized patterns. I watched her movements through subtle questions in conversations with family members, without revealing a single hint of suspicion. She had no idea I was awake, aware, planning. Internal thought. She wanted to erase me from our father's life, from his legacy. But she didn't realize I had something she didn't. Patience, precision, and the power of quiet observation. I pored over everything late into the night. Every move she had made legally, financially, socially, it was all laid bare. And in the calm of the lamplit room, I smiled. Not because I enjoyed her betrayal, but because I knew the beginning of my plan. I would take back what was mine, and she wouldn't even see it coming. The key, I realized, was silence. To move too quickly would alert her. To confront her directly now would give her time to cover her tracks. No, this needed to be slow, deliberate. A chess game where I already controlled the board. Every word she said, every move she made, would be a piece she revealed willingly. And I would take advantage of it. I thought back to all the times we laughed together, all the moments of shared secrets. Those memories stung now, tainted by betrayal, but they also reminded me why I had to act. This wasn't just about money or property. It was about justice, about reclaiming my place, and about showing her that betrayal has consequences, even when it's carefully hidden behind smiles. I closed the dossier, took a deep breath, and whispered to myself, I'll take it back, every bit of it. And I'll do it in silence. The storm was coming, but it wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It was precise, calculated, and unstoppable. Claire had underestimated me. She didn't see the quiet fire burning in me. And by the time she did, it would be too late. My sister thought she could take everything from me and get away with it. But I'm not who she thinks I am. Subscribe now to watch how I take back what's mine. Quietly, strategically, and with justice in every move. You'd be surprised how much a person reveals when they think you're blind. For weeks, I watched Claire without her ever noticing. Not from behind bushes or through windows. That's amateur behavior. I watched her the way a quiet person watches a room. Eyes open, ears patient, face neutral. She thought the inheritance was already buried, gone, forgotten. She thought I had accepted being cheated. And because she believed that, she allowed her true self to slip out little by little. The first crack in her act happened at brunch. She sat across from me at our favorite cafe, stirring her latte with that arrogance she hides under polite smiles. "ZAHA, you look tired," she said, her voice dripping with artificial concern. "Are you stressed about something?" She wanted me to flinch, to confess, to reveal that I knew what she had done. I smiled instead. Not at all. Life's been peaceful. Her eyebrows twitched, just a flicker, but I caught it. Inside I almost laughed. She hates not knowing what I know. I sipped my tea slowly, letting the silence stretch, letting her wonder. It's incredible how silence can choke a guilty person faster than shouting ever could. Over the following days I noticed patterns. Claire had started upgrading her wardrobe. New silk blouses, designer shoes, jewelry that didn't belong to someone pretending to be humble. She hosted gatherings, invited acquaintances she once claimed to hate, and made sure people knew she was managing the family estate. Not her estate. My inheritance. But instead of confronting her, I played the role of the soft-spoken older sister. The one she thought was harmless. The one she believed would never fight back. Every time she talked, I listened, not just to her words, but to what she tried to hide. At one gathering, she bragged to her friend Amelia about smart financial decisions. I stood by the doorway, watching her laugh, flipping her hair like a teenager drunk on attention. "You wouldn't believe how easy it is to handle old legal documents," she said with a smirk. "Some people don't even understand what they're signing." Amelia gasped. "You mean, ZAHA?" Claire immediately lowered her voice. "Please, Amelia. Let's enjoy the night." She didn't see me. Or maybe she did and didn't care. That was the thing about Claire. She never feared being caught, because she thought she was smarter than everyone else. She underestimated me again. At home, I kept collecting information. Emails she accidentally forwarded, inconsistencies in her stories, dates that didn't align. I wrote everything down in a notebook, the same leather-bound one father gifted me years ago. Every night, flipping through the pages, I whispered to myself, "You left footprints, Claire, and I'm following every single one." One evening, I visited the lawyer who had handled Father's will, quietly, discreetly. I didn't accuse anyone. I just asked questions with a soft voice and a calm smile. Questions that made the lawyer uncomfortable. Questions he didn't want to answer. He stuttered. He avoided eye contact. His hands shook slightly. And that's when I knew. He was involved. Or intimidated. Or bribed. Either way, he wasn't clean. I thanked him politely and left without pressing further. The truth had already revealed itself. I wasn't enraged. I wasn't panicked. I felt a strange clarity. I now understood how she stole it. Now I needed to understand why. Because no betrayal happens without a seed: jealousy, fear, desperation, greed. And Claire's reason. I needed to hear it from her lips. Not for closure. For leverage. And so day by day, observation by observation, I built the foundation of my silent revenge. Quietly. Gently. Not giving her even a hint that her time was running out. She thought she won. She thought she buried me. But she had no idea I was already digging her grave. One detail at a time. If you've ever been betrayed by the person you trusted most, then you know how this feels. Stay with me. The real cracks is about to show. Subscribe for the next chapter of ZAHA's quiet vengeance. I didn't go home that night. I just drove. Nowhere in particular, just away. Away from the house where my mother raised us. Away from the memories stitched into every wall. And away from the sound of my sister's voice lying so smoothly, I almost believed her myself. The night air felt too cold for December. Or maybe I was just shaking. I parked by the old pier. The one Dad used to take us to when life felt too loud. He'd sit with his feet dangling over the edge, humming that slow, old tune he always said made the water calmer. I tried humming it that night. It didn't calm me. Nothing did. Because the truth sat in my chest like stones. My own sister, my blood, stole everything he left for me. And she did it with a smile. I remember gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles hurt, whispering to myself, "ZAHA, breathe. Don't let her turn you into something small." I closed my eyes and for a moment, I swear I heard Dad's voice. Firm, steady, disappointed. "You know the truth. Now decide what you're going to do with it." I opened my eyes. And for the first time that day, maybe even the first time in months, I felt something rise in me that wasn't grief or fear. Clarity. Not revenge. Not rage. Just truth. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want noise. I wanted my father's legacy back. And I was going to take it. Silently. The next morning, I went straight to the lawyer's office. I didn't call ahead. I didn't schedule anything. I walked in, looked the secretary in the eye, and said, "I need to see Mr. Harlow. He has 10 minutes to spare for a daughter who was robbed." I think she saw something in my face, because she didn't argue. When I walked into his office, he looked up from his desk with that startled, guilty expression people get when the truth walks in wearing real clothes. I placed the forged transfer papers in front of him. "I want you to tell me," I said quietly, "how my signature got on these documents, when I was sitting by my father's hospital bed the day you claim I signed them." He swallowed. Hard. The silence was so thick it made the clock on his wall sound louder. Tick, tick, tick. "You knew," I said. "You knew she forged it and you still processed it." He tried to talk. He tried to explain. He tried to act surprised, confused, sympathetic. Every performance he's ever practiced for clients who cry in his office. But I didn't cry. Not even once. I simply said, "You will fix this. Quietly. Or I will open this door and scream the truth so loudly your entire career will shatter before lunch." He believed me. They always believe the calm ones. By noon, the deed was reversed. The account was restored. Everything my father left me, every piece of land, every savings bond, every investment portfolio, legally mine again. No police. No family war. No dramatic confrontations. Just paperwork undone. Just silence doing what justice couldn't. When my sister found out, she called and called. Then she texted, paragraphs of rage and shock. "How could you do this to me? We're family. You're so selfish." I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because for the first time in my life, her voice didn't matter. Dad always told me inheritance wasn't money, it was character. She chose hers. I chose mine. And I reclaimed what was mine without shouting, without breaking, without begging. Quiet victories last longer. And that silence? That was the loudest I've ever been. She didn't come quietly. Claire burst into my life the way a storm bursts through a calm sky. Angry, loud, desperate. I was at a small cafe that morning, sipping black coffee and reading through some old letters from Dad, when I saw her storm through the door. The kind of storm that makes people turn their heads. "Claire," voice sharp, accusatory. "ZAHA, you think you can just take everything? Do you even know what you've done?" I looked up slowly, setting my cup down. Calm. Collected. "Because the moment you panic, she wins." Voice low, steady. "I know exactly what I've done. And I know exactly what you've done." Her eyes narrowed, scanning the cafe, as if anyone could see the monster she thought I'd become. I leaned back in my chair, letting her fury burn out. "Claire," voice rising, you stole from me. From me. I worked for that money. I made the connections. I earned it." Earned? By what? By forging my name, by manipulating lawyers, by pretending to be the perfect daughter-in-law while you quietly erased me? No, Claire. You just forgot who you were dealing with. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting the silence speak louder than words. People in the cafe shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension radiating from us. Voice calm, razor sharp. "You earned your lies, Claire. And I reclaimed the truth. That's all." Her face turned red, not from anger, but from realization. She wasn't used to someone speaking calmly while holding all the cards. And that's when I saw the first crack in her armor. "Claire," voice faltering, "but how? I had everything in my name." Leaning in slightly, eyes steady, I said, "You had everything, until you forgot that patience, observation, and the law are stronger than arrogance. You left traces, Claire. Every mistake, every slip, every lie, was a breadcrumb straight to the truth." Claire's trembling hands, gripping her purse. She doesn't know whether to scream, cry, or run. All three emotions fight for dominance in her chest. "Claire," voice small, almost pleading, "ZAHA, please. I didn't mean." Cutting her off gently but firmly. "Intentions don't matter. Actions do. And your actions spoke louder than words. I didn't steal anything. I simply made sure the truth got back where it belongs. This is justice, not cruelty. Let her feel the weight of her choices. Let her realize the quiet victory is louder than any shouting match. The tension stretched for what felt like hours, but was only seconds. Claire's eyes darted around the cafe, then to me, then back to the floor. People were staring, whispering. But I didn't care. My only concern was the reality she finally had to face. I had won. Silently. Completely. I said softly, almost kindly, I didn't take your money. I took back what was mine. I didn't need to humiliate you publicly. I didn't need to shout or fight. The truth did it for me. Claire's shoulders slump. Her fight drains from her like water from a cracked vessel. For the first time, she sees that she can't manipulate or control this situation. I stood, placed my empty coffee cup on the table, and smiled faintly, not in triumph, but in quiet finality. Calmly, voice low, remember this day, Claire. Remember what patience, truth, and silence can do. And don't forget, next time, think twice before betraying someone who never underestimates you. I turned and walked out, leaving her standing there, trembling, exposed. She wanted confrontation. She wanted chaos. I gave her clarity. The quietest justice is the loudest when it hits. Claire thought she could intimidate me and keep everything. But patience and truth are stronger than anger. Subscribe to see how Marie restores balance and ensures no one can betray her again. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Victory without vigilance is meaningless. Claire had been exposed, yes, but people like her don't disappear quietly. They linger. They plot. They wait for you to let your guard down. So I planned. Silently. Patiently. Methodically. I started small. Every account, every property, every document that had passed through her hands, I reviewed, cross-checked, verified. I went back to the lawyers, to the banks, to every institution that had unknowingly helped her claim what wasn't hers. I didn't ask for favors. I asked for facts, records, proof, evidence that could not be denied. This isn't just about revenge. This is about protecting what's mine, and ensuring that no one ever thinks they can manipulate me again. I met with advisors quietly, not the flashy, public type, but meticulous, discreet professionals who understood the power of subtlety. I wanted no noise, no spectacle, just results. Then came the first leverage move. Claire thought I had simply restored my inheritance and walked away. She thought the story ended. But she didn't know I had documented every misstep she made. Emails, financial transfers, casual conversations where she admitted overconfidence. Every slip became a tool. Every error became a safeguard. I never confronted her directly. Never a raised voice. She saw the changes subtly. A lawyer called with routine documents. Banks requested updated signatures. Property management companies started asking questions. Each small event felt innocuous to the outside world. But to her, the walls of her fake security were crumbling. One evening, I met a family friend who had been quietly observing Claire's antics. He didn't know I was gathering intel. I asked casual questions, letting him speak freely. He revealed exactly what Claire had been saying behind my back, unaware that I was listening. Every boast, every lie, every plan she thought she could execute without detection. It was all mine now. Silence isn't passive. Silence is a weapon. And I wield it better than she ever could. I even adjusted the family's internal accounts, ensuring that the remaining assets could no longer be moved without my knowledge. Every transfer, every large expense flagged. Claire's access became limited, subtle but absolute. She could not touch anything without leaving evidence. And if she tried, the evidence would be undeniable. She called me once, voice trembling, trying to sound casual. With fake cheerfulness, "ZAHA, just checking in. Everything okay?" I smiled quietly, almost imperceptibly. Softly measured, "Everything is exactly as it should be." She paused, sensing a change but unable to articulate it. She had no idea how much I had already secured. No idea how completely the tide had turned. I walked through the estate, calmly inspecting properties, verifying documents, checking accounts. Every corner, every detail, is under my quiet control. The air is calm. The house is still. But I know the storm has already passed, and the calm is mine. Internal thought. She thought she had won. She thought I was powerless. Now she realizes, too late, that the silent strategy is the deadliest of all. One doesn't need shouting to dominate. One only needs precision, patience, and observation. I didn't gloat. I didn't flaunt. I simply watched, waited, and ensured that nothing she did could ever jeopardize me again. Every conversation she had, every move she attempted, it all bounced off the shield I had quietly built. The world outside thought this was just a simple inheritance dispute resolved. But they didn't know the truth. And that truth was mine. ZAHA reclaimed her inheritance silently, ensuring her sister could never harm her again. Subscribe to follow the next act, where quiet control turns into complete resolution, and justice is finally cemented. Claire thought the fight was over. She believed she had survived my silence and that her threats, once faint and desperate, could no longer reach me. She was wrong. I never intended to confront her directly. That's not how battles are won. The strongest message isn't shouted, it's observed. It's in the quiet actions that reveal power without a word. It started with small gestures. Invitations to family gatherings came with a subtle hint of change. I personally greeted the lawyers, accountants, and trustees who had previously handled Claire's accounts, smiling just enough to let them know I was present, aware, in control. Internal thought, Marie, she doesn't see me. She thinks I'm distant. But I'm everywhere. I know everything. And she will feel it, even without me saying a word. One Sunday, our extended family gathered at the old estate for brunch. Claire, as usual, entered with a confident smile, expecting applause for managing the inheritance. She was mid-laugh when I approached, calm and composed, holding the family's original will in my hands. I spoke with soft, controlled voice. I thought I'd bring this today, just so everyone could have clarity. She froze. The laughter fell. The warmth in the room shifted. All eyes turned to me. She's used to controlling attention. But now, every gaze is on me, and she can't manipulate it. Claire's smile faltered. Sus, that's old news. I tilted the document slightly, letting the sunlight glint off the embossed seal. My voice was calm, unshakable. Old news, perhaps. But I thought clarity was important. No misunderstandings. No disputes. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for allies' support. There was none. Everyone had already seen the subtle truth. I had regained authority, control, and respect. I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to argue. I didn't have to accuse. The document alone spoke louder than any confrontation could. Internal thought. She doesn't have to know I've traced every move she made, every lie she told, every attempt to manipulate the family. She just needs to feel the consequences quietly. Later that week, I visited her office under the guise of a casual family check-in. She greeted me with a tense smile, clearly expecting me to be meek or apologetic. With forced cheerfulness she said, "ZAHA, you're looking well." I returned a neutral smile. "Thank you, Claire. I wanted to make sure all documents and accounts are in order." Her hands tightened around her coffee cup. I didn't mention specifics. I didn't have to. My calm presence, my quiet confidence, the knowledge that I was silently aware of everything she had done, it was enough. She feels the warning. She knows now that any attempt to challenge me will be noticed, corrected, and nullified before she even takes action. By the end of the week, Claire was careful in everything she said. Subtle gestures, careful words, half smiles instead of full ones. Every action she took was measured because she had finally understood one crucial thing. I had regained control. Not loudly, not violently, but undeniably. And that, more than anything, is the message that needs no words. ZAHA didn't need to yell or fight. Her presence, patience, and quiet actions were enough to warn her sister that betrayal would never succeed again. Subscribe to see how the final acts lead to full justice and resolution. I never rush justice. That's a mistake people make when they let anger guide them. I moved quietly, deliberately, ensuring every detail was airtight. By now, Claire had already felt the shift. She knew she was outmatched, but I needed to make it absolute. I started with the estate itself. Walking through each property, I inspected the accounts, the documents, the contracts. Each lock, each signature, every clause in the agreements, I double-checked everything. Nothing was left to chance. Every mistake she had made had been corrected, Every vulnerability she could exploit had been neutralized. This isn't paranoia. This is survival. She's cunning, but I've anticipated every step. Every possible misstep she could make is already under control. I called in a discreet trustee to review the finances, someone outside the family, neutral and professional. Claire had relied on old alliances, thinking they were loyal. But when I brought in an independent observer, quietly reviewing transactions, her past errors began to unravel. She noticed, of course. Her sharp eyes caught subtle shifts. A new signature here, an unexpected audit there. She didn't confront me directly. Not yet, but I could feel her calculating, plotting, trying to find a hole in my strategy. At home, I arranged all family accounts to reflect the rightful ownership. My ownership. I placed subtle safeguards in every major decision-making process. Transfers now required dual verification. Accounts were monitored, and properties couldn't be sold or transferred without my knowledge. This is the final check. The moment of absolute control. When she tries to manipulate, she will find herself stopped before she even moves. That evening, Claire tried a confrontation. She came to my home under the guise of a casual visit, her voice sweet but tense. "ZAHA, I just wanted to talk. Maybe we can find some middle ground." I smiled faintly, guiding her to the living room. Calm. Collected. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. "Of course, Claire. I think clarity is important for both of us. But let's keep it factual. No assumptions, no surprises." Her smile faltered. I could see the frustration building. She realized that her old tactics, manipulation, intimidation, charm, no longer worked. I handed her a folder. Just a folder. No explanations. "Everything you need is here. The accounts, the property documents, all in order. Nothing can be moved without transparency. You'll find everything above board." She opened it slowly, scanning through the pages. Her eyes widened. Every potential loophole, every oversight she could have used, every subtle advantage she might have exploited, it had been neutralized. Claire, voice trembling. How did you do this?" I leaned back, calm and resolute. "You left traces, Claire. I followed them all. And now, everything is in its rightful place. Yours is what's yours, mine is what's mine. Nothing more can be hidden. Nothing more can be stolen." She closed the folder, a defeated look on her face. No words. No further attempts. The weight of reality had settled over her. She understood fully that any attempt to challenge me again would be futile. Justice isn't about vengeance. It's about restoring balance. And now, balance has been restored. By the end of the night, Claire left quietly. No threats. No insults. No shouting. Just silence. The same silence I had used as my weapon from the start. And in that silence, I felt a calm I hadn't felt in months. A quiet triumph. Not loud, not showy, just complete. ZAHA's careful strategy ensured her sister could never betray her again. The inheritance, the legacy, and her peace were secured. Subscribe to see how the final acts bring full closure and ultimate justice. The house was quiet that morning. Not the soft, comforting kind of quiet, but the heavy, watchful silence that follows storms. I walked through the rooms, touching the old furniture, the family photos, the memories of laughter and arguments, and I realized something. I had survived. I had reclaimed what was mine, and I had done it on my terms. Claire hadn't called. She hadn't sent emails. She hadn't tried to manipulate anyone. That in itself was a revelation. Silence, I realized, isn't just a weapon. It's a mirror. It shows people exactly what they've lost, and they don't even need you to tell them. I went through the final documents one more time. The inheritance was secure. Accounts were locked, properties under my name, every legal safeguard in place. Every error she made had been corrected. Every chance she could take was blocked. It's over. Not because I shouted or raged, but because truth and patience always win when wielded properly. Later that afternoon, family members began to arrive for a gathering. There was tension in the air, a subtle awareness that something had shifted. I greeted everyone warmly, smiling calmly. No one mentioned Claire. No one dared. Everyone sensed the change, and it wasn't subtle. She arrived last, hesitant, her steps slow. I didn't glare. I didn't raise my voice. I simply acknowledged her presence with a nod. Claire, it's good to have you here. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for allies, searching for signs that she could regain footing. There were none. The subtle control I had built over every corner of our lives left her powerless. And for the first time she realized it. Claire was quiet, almost afraid. ZAHA. I held up a hand. Firm but calm, no explanations. No apologies. Actions speak louder than words. Everything you did, everything you tried, it's in the past. What matters is the present. And the present is settled. Her shoulders slumped. The fight left her. The rage drained away. And in that moment, I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction, not vengeance, but relief. I didn't just reclaim money or property. I reclaimed peace. And no one can take that from me. We sat through the family dinner. Conversations flowed, cautious but genuine. I noticed Claire quietly slipping into the background, accepting the reality she had tried to manipulate, but could not. By the end of the evening, she left without confrontation. The room felt lighter, calmer. The tension dissolved. I knew she would no longer attempt to challenge me. Not because I told her so, but because she had felt the weight of consequence, quiet and absolute. Later, I walked through the garden, looking at the horizon. The sky was soft, the kind of sunset that turns everything gold. I whispered to myself, justice doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't need drama. It just needs clarity, patience, and courage. And that's what I've learned. For months, I had observed, planned, and acted silently. The inheritance, my father's legacy, my peace, all secured. And Claire? She had been shown the limits of deceit without a single raised voice from me. This is how victory feels. Not loud. Not messy. Quiet. Absolute. And lasting. I returned to the house, closing the door behind me. It wasn't a door closing on my sister. It was a door closing on betrayal, greed, and manipulation. The inheritance wasn't just money anymore. It was strength. It was proof that patience and intelligence are more powerful than anger and lies. ZAHA reclaimed her legacy, restored family balance, and showed that quiet strategy can be stronger than any confrontation. Subscribe to see how every betrayal can be faced with patience, courage, and ultimate justice. I sat alone in the study that evening, the house quiet except for the ticking of the old clock on the mantel. Everything was finally in its place. The inheritance secure, the documents verified, the accounts untouched by deceit, and Claire, finally powerless to cause harm. I leaned back in my chair and let myself breathe. For months, I had been tense, alert, always watching, always calculating. Every phone call, every email, every subtle move of Claire's had felt like a threat. And now it was gone. Peace was not loud. Peace was the absence of chaos. I did it. Not with anger. Not with shouting. Not with betrayal. But with patience, silence, and strategy. I reclaimed what was mine. And more importantly, I reclaimed myself. I pulled out an old letter from my father, the handwriting slightly faded, but the message clear. Integrity and patience are stronger than anger and impulse. Always act with clarity, my child, and the world will bend to truth. I smiled, remembering the lessons he had taught us as children. Lessons Claire had always ignored in her quest for immediate gain. She never understood that truth moves slowly, but it moves relentlessly. Later, I walked through the house, observing each room. My father's study, my old bedroom, the living room where we'd celebrated birthdays and endured arguments. They all felt lighter now, freer. No one had to be careful around me anymore. No one had to tiptoe through lies and manipulation. The air itself felt restored. Justice doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need applause. It only needs patience and awareness. I've learned that the hard way. I thought about Claire. I didn't feel triumph over her, not exactly. I felt relief. Relief that she could no longer harm me, that her greed could no longer overshadow my life, and that my father's legacy was finally honored. I didn't need to punish her. The silence, the subtle control, and the restored balance were punishment enough. I sat by the window, watching the last light fade from the horizon. The garden, once cluttered with reminders of family tensions, now seemed serene. The wind whispered softly, carrying away months of tension and fear. I allowed myself a rare smile, soft, private, and unburdened. Everything I've done was for the future, my future, and the memory of my father. Every careful step, every quiet maneuver, every moment of patience has led here. And it is enough. I took a deep breath and whispered aloud, as if speaking to my father, to the house, to myself. I didn't just reclaim what was stolen. I reclaimed peace, dignity, and clarity. And no one can take that from me again. The house remained silent, yet it felt alive with resolution. I had faced betrayal, endured manipulation, and navigated deceit. And now, I had emerged not just victorious but whole. The quiet had carried me, strategy had guided me, and patience had protected me. Some victories scream, some victories whisper. Mine whispered, and in that whisper, I found strength no one could challenge. I rose from the chair, walking through the halls one last time before heading to the study door. The world outside awaited, and I was ready. Not cautious, not fearful, not burdened by past betrayal. Just ready to live fully, knowing that the lessons of patience, strategy, and quiet power would guide me forever. ZAHA faced betrayal, reclaimed her inheritance, and restored peace through patience, intelligence, and quiet strategy. Subscribe to follow stories where courage and calm outsmart deception and deceit, proving that justice can be powerful and silent. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.